So I
We
think,
have a never-ending stream of product for you, Mike. Always there's
yeah,
another. You just tell me what kind of mood you're in, what kind of color you want. We'll send you something.
yeah, yeah. So, hey, everybody out in YouTube land. My name is Mike and I love guitars. Today's video is going to be a little different than anything I've done before. I have two of my oldest friends, Ethan and Shelby, on a Zoom call with me, and we're going to do a new segment that I'm calling We Love Guitars, and we're just going to talk about guitars. I've known both of these guys, oh gosh, 30
Long enough.
years now, something like that. We hail from the same hometown of Southeast Texas, um, and these are the two guys that I know that basically have more guitars than I do, and that's quite the feat. I think between the three of us, I'm pretty sure we're over 100.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, and I always jokingly tell people like between the three of us, we could open our own guitar museum, like easy.
At
So,
least the store.
yes, yes. Um, Shelby, how many do you have, like roughly at this point?
It usually hovers around about a 2 dozen minimum. But I mean, right now, Ethan and I, we've got a lot of inventory and stuff. We buy, sell, and trade together, of course, for the last several years, and I couldn't even put an exact number on it.
That's fair. I always tell people I'm about 30. I would have to
Yeah.
like sit down and count. Um, so Ethan, do you have a rough number?
I think of ones that'll stick around probably long term,
Yeah, the
approaching
keeper
30.
number is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the keeper number is pushing 30, and there's
Well,
probably 8 or 10 that are at any given moment could go here or
yeah.
there. So
There you go.
I think I'm sitting on 37 instruments at this exact moment, but that number is fairly
It,
fluid. So
it
Nice.
changes by the week,
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
and we change our minds on what we're going to sell or keep. It's always in a flux,
Yeah.
but
And
it's
for
hard to
any
believe.
Oh, sorry to say, for anyone who watches my videos regularly, Ethan and Shelby are basically my two friends that loan me guitars and stuff all the time. So if you see me say, "Hey, I," excuse me, if I say, "Hey, I borrowed this guitar from a friend of mine," chances are it's Ethan and Shelby because they again they're the two guys I know that have as many or more guitars than me, and we all absolutely love guitars, everything about them. Um, so I
We
think,
have a never-ending stream of product for you, Mike. Always there's
yeah,
another. You just tell me what kind of mood you're in, what kind of color you want. We'll send you something.
yeah, yeah. So, I think today we are going to talk about our first guitars. Um, I was very, very fortunate, very spoiled, didn't appreciate it at all at the time.
We never do.
Yeah, never do when we're teenagers. It just, we just don't get it. But I actually learned how to play guitar on a cherry red 69 Gibson SG with the Maestro Vibrola
Oh yeah.
bridge on it. Um, I mean, it's an awful tremolo, but as far as tremolos go, but it was such a cool guitar, and I just did not appreciate it at all. But that was my first guitar for like 2 years.
Ethan, what what's the ballpark on something like that right now, you think?
7, 8,
Easy.
probably, depending if it's
Yeah.
player's grade. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
It was definitely player's grade.
yeah.
It actually like my father found it in a pawn shop for like $200
Oh yeah.
Oh
when I
man.
was really young. Um, and at some point, I think it had been dropped because the headstock was fine, but there was actually a crack in the body, like right where that bottom furthest away tone knob is,
Hmm.
it was like the whole end was cracked right up to that tone knob. So,
Yeah.
and there was on the back side, there was like a small chunk missing out of it. So it for sure was player's grade, but it was still an amazing guitar, like as a very first guitar learning how to play.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. In perfect condition. What was the year again? You
69.
remember?
69.
69. Yeah. So that was large pick guard, narrow nut width. Those are if you want to get it at this point, they're all so old now that they're all worth a bunch of money.
Yeah.
You know,
Sure.
some people might like 65 and earlier, blah blah blah, 72 and later, blah blah blah. But yeah, prayer. I bet you could have gotten 7 or 8 right now, even with the crack and the whole thing. So and almost all those guitars are that way. You never see them in good shape because people play the crap out of
It's
them. And
hard
You,
to find a good example.
yeah,
are you
You know,
ready to yell at me? You want to know? So it says my father's guitar. I didn't actually get it from him until like years later. Well, I shouldn't say year, to a couple of years later. Still way too young to appreciate it. And you want to know what I did with it?
mm.
I freaking traded it for a brand new Les Paul Studio at Guitar and Banjo.
Well, in the 90s, it was just still a used guitar. I
yeah.
mean, that's
Yeah,
this whole thing we're in now where everybody is just there's pre-internet, everybody's a professional now, and
yeah.
the values reflect all that. But yeah, probably then it was just like, that's a cool old used guitar. It's kind of
20
beat
years
up.
old.
Here,
Yeah, it would have
yeah,
been yeah, it'd have been like 96 when I got rid of it because
yeah.
that's I was right about 20 was when I got it from him. And the problem though is I was on this quest for whatever reason, as before I appreciated variety. I wanted another guitar that sounded exactly like my 79 Les Paul Standard. And I was just going at that time, I was going through guitar after guitar after guitar to have like the backup to number one. And of course, I've never found the like another guitar that sounds exactly like that. But I'm old enough now to appreciate the unique characteristics of every guitar. So, but yeah, that's the why of letting it go for a Les Paul Studio.
Only a Norland Paul can replace a Norland Paul. There's just nothing like them. And it's sad to
Hashtag
me that the
facts.
that the general public finally started catching on to how good those are because for the longest time we were, we got good deals on some of that stuff. But
Absolutely. And I agree that I'm kind of sad that everybody else is finally like, oh, Norlands are actually kind of cool. It's like,
yeah,
dude, I've been saying that since like 96 when I bought my first one, or 94 when I
they're
bought my first one.
they're solid as a rock. They've
Yeah.
got great, comfortable neck profiles. They're tough. I'm,
And I
I'm a
genuinely
fan.
think the three ply or the three piece, I should say, necks on those,
Oh, that's
I
the
think
most
that adds to
superior.
the strength.
Yeah, three-piece neck with a volute. I mean, that's ESP uses that to this day
Yeah.
across their entire line of instruments. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a great design. I've never broken I play a 78 and I haven't been nice to it. That guitar's in one piece after all these years.
Yeah.
It's really easy to say from the sidelines, oh, well, this isn't good, this blah blah blah. People people want to slam, they were mean to the Norland era stuff for a long time. The Corvettes of the same era and the Harleys went through the same thing, and now they're all vintage and desirable. Sometimes it just takes the public time, and then other times, they intimidated Gibson into going back to a one-piece mahogany neck,
Yeah.
and what doesn't even really pass is a scarf joint. And I understand why some of those break, but you
Yeah.
can't mess with the late '70s, early '80s, man. They were
Yeah.
just fabulous. Ethan, what about your first acts?
Mine is a little convoluted.
Yeah.
It's kind of multi-part. So when I was
Okay.
a kid, my dad had an old K arch top, and it must have been like a 57, 58-ish. He's his best. Now, of course, he's been gone more than 10 years, but I think that was about the date he put on. But from my earliest memories as a kid, it was didn't have strings on it, it was beat to crap. I would pull it out and jack around with it, but as far as one that I sought out myself, it's not much better. It's probably worse, honestly. we back in the early 90s, we used to make a habit a few times a year. We would go down and go across the border into Matamoros or Nuevo Laredo or whatever, back when you could do that and it was all good. Everything
Yeah.
was kosher. Uh, I bought a $40 classical from a street vendor in Matamoros, Mexico. I think it was in 92, so I was 11. And the
Right.
frets were sharp. It was awful, but it sort of stayed in tune. I didn't even realize, I was so naive to it. I didn't even realize that I was supposed to keep nylon strings on it. So I just slapped like a set of big old fat acoustic phosphor bronze strings on it. And I was like, oh, this thing sucks
Sure.
all of a sudden. So that was probably it was my first one that I really played, but I fought it more than I played it.
Yeah.
So after that whole experiment, and with me complaining and begging enough, my mom, I think it was in 93, Christmas of 93, I got a Kramer Squire package from Sam's Club, of all things. It was
Nice.
a Sunburst Strat Kramer copy and a
Nice.
little tiny 15-watt amp that came from Sam's for Christmas. And so that was probably, and I played the holy crap out of it. I figured out pretty quick. I was trying to play Metallica tunes and, Alice in Chains and AC/DC. I figured out pretty quick I didn't like it for that kind of stuff. And it was not long for the world with me. I traded it once again, a guitar and banjo for a proper humbucker guitar after a year or so. But
Yeah.
that's what I consider my first axe, was that Kramer, and it sat in guitar and banjo for years. I kind of wish, stupidly enough, I kind of wish it was still there because I'd go pick it up,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I'd love to just
Right.
see what I could get out of it. But yeah, that little Strat they traded me, and it served its purpose, man. I played the heck out of
Yeah.
it and kind of figured out what I liked and what I didn't like. But the after that bought that, the classical ended up like in the attic. And when my parents moved out of their house, my mom called me. It was like, "Hey, this old black guitar is still up here in the attic." She's like, "It's basically broken in two, just from the heat and the pressure.
Yeah.
It just did that." So
Who's
I was like,
Esteban?
"Yeah, no, this Esteban's guitars made this thing look like utter trash. I would have been fortunate to have an Esteban. This thing was worse than worse." But yeah, she threw it in the trash. I was way beyond that thing. But yeah, it was a total piece assembled in Mexico out of the worst materials possible. But you know what? It got me going. And but yeah, I kind of forget about that one and I go straight to the Kramer. So that's
Yeah.
pretty much it for my first.
Yeah. Shelby.
Yeah, man. So mine's, kind of like Ethan was saying, that you might say it's a little twofold. I'll say, so my first guitar that I ever had, um, my mom had two brothers. One of them was younger, one of them was older. The younger one passed away right around 80, I guess 81 or two. I was probably 2 or 3 years old. And he had just gone a couple months before to the same store in Port Arthur, Texas here, that Billy Gibbons bought Pearly Gates from. I've got the name of it on the receipt somewhere in my desk.
Yep.
But anyway, he went and bought this little. It wasn't an Ovation. It was the cheap Ovation, the
The
Applause,
applause. Yeah.
and it had the fiberglass bowl back and everything with the fretboard and the frets were all one piece of aluminum and or whatever the hell alloy that is. It's some tough stuff. It's still in one piece to this day. But that was my first ever, and it had probably 4 or 5 strings out of it, or on it rather. When I pulled it out of the closet, when I was 10 or 12 years old, probably he had already been passed away for quite some time. It just sat there, and it was it was right around the time Metallica's Black album was hitting, and I said, "Man, I sure do." I've been a music lover up until that point,
Yeah.
but I liked a lot of Billy Joel and Michael Jackson, classical music, maybe a little bit of rock and roll. But when Metallica, the Justice and Black album was like there was a production and a polish and a guitar centric sound that grabbed me, and it's
Yeah.
never let go. Now the first guitar I ever, that was ever like a nice decent one, that within a year, that next Christmas, I had been playing so much, as they say, fingers bled.
Yeah.
But my mom and sister went in and went right down the road, just a few blocks where A&S Music was, and purchased for me a brand new black PV Predator, which was a Stratocaster style guitar, single
Yeah.
coils, all your normal fare, but with a black painted fretboard. So there was, I don't know what wood the fretboard was because it was black. Now this was PV, made in USA, mind you.
Yeah.
I don't know what they cost back then. It was probably $200 in 1993 or something. And bless their hearts for it. But I'll never forget. I played that guitar, to death. And it wasn't soon after I started buying, Gibsons and Jacksons and, as Ethan stated earlier, proper humbucking guitars. And I'll never forget within the first couple of years of playing, after getting some more serious guitars with hotter pickups and stuff, going back to that Strat,
Yeah.
and it sounded like an ice pick to me. And it's so sad because it was just me lacking as a player. I didn't have
Yeah.
experience or
Yeah.
I didn't have discerning taste, and it turned me off of Strats for almost 30 years. I just said, I don't like, and Ethan
Yeah.
told me over and over, man, they're great. There's a reason that they're what they are. I said, and we only just within the last 2 or 3 years have we found one that I liked well enough to keep. But
Yeah.
yeah, the little PV Predator. And of course I loaned it to a friend and then never saw it again, as is always the case.
Yeah.
Things happen. I'm like Ethan. I would love to get my hands on it one more time. I know that little neck would feel like home.
Well, it's funny. Before EVH, PV was like, didn't have a particularly great reputation.
It was
But
affordable,
yeah, what
but
I was going to
quality
say, but
affordable.
having said that, um, no one did more in the 80s and 90s
Right.
to get affordable guitars and amps into young players' hands than
Yeah.
PV did. Period. End of story. Um, so that's, and particularly in Southeast Texas, man, with A&S Music there in Nederland. I mean, that's
Oh yeah.
everybody learned on PV guitars and little PV, like PV
Well,
Rage amps and
PV's
stuff.
in the South, in the
Yeah.
United
Yeah.
States, and especially with all of your church equipment, PA equipment, and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I always kind of equated them to like a Yamaha or something. They do have high end stuff, but what they really have always, seemed to focus on was just giving you a lot for the money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to this day, I mean, they've still got some pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
It's
I like the PV.
Yeah.
a fun aside to that, and it ties right into that. In about 98, I'm thinking it was 98, 99. I had finally been through the Kramer amp and a PV Bandit and all that. And by this time, I had a US strap with the humbucker, and I was looking for the next best thing. And funny enough, before we were really friends, I walked into
Yep.
A&S while I was still in high school, and Shelby, of all people, was working there. And I told him,
I
I'm looking for an
remember.
amp. I need a guitar amp. And he's like, what are you listening to? I was like, Metallica, Alice in Chains. He was like, let me show you this. And it was a PV Classic 100.
Yeah.
And I still own it to the day. I remember plugging it in and being like, chug, chug, chug. Okay, that'll do. And
Yeah.
it's funny. So Shelby basically sold me on it, but I didn't have the bread quite then. I was prepared for like $500, and I think it was like six or something. So I
Yeah.
came back a few weeks later, and Shelby wasn't working there anymore. I was like, where's Shelby? And I remember Cecil was like, well, boy, I know what you're after. You're after that PV. So anyway, funny enough, Shelby sold me my first amp, even though I couldn't afford it at the time. I
That's
rushed
awesome.
back as quick as I could and bought it. But there you go. I still own it to this day. It needs a good visit to an amp repair guy, but the PV Classic, man,
Yeah.
Class 100, it did it. For $600. I don't know what else would jam that hard. So
That's awesome.
Those amps are pretty cool.
Funny aside, since we are talking about amps, again, I learned to play guitar on my father's 69 SG. My father was actually a bass player, and we had an amplifier in the house but it was a bass amp. So I learned to play guitar on the old 70s custom with the K, like
Oh
the
yeah,
blue sparkly
big
vinyl
padded.
with the big
Yeah.
single 18 speaker in it. So it's technically a combo, but it was like 4 feet tall, you know. Um, and it's like I said, it just had the single 18 with like the little two portholes on the front of it. And it was a bass amp, but it had a bright channel. So like you pulled on the
Oh yeah.
volume knob and it enabled the bright channel. And so I that and a Boss heavy metal pedal. And
Mm, mm,
so it was like
mm.
amazing guitar, kind of crappy distortion pedal into a
Yeah.
WTF bass amp, and that's how I learned to play guitar. Um, and much like you guys, like my first guitar story is kind of a two-parter. The first guitar that I ever actually bought, again from Guitar and Banjo in Beaumont, because we lived literally right down the street from Guitar and Banjo. Um, we had a friend of the family that gave me like three or four or maybe five Boss pedals, like a phaser, like the whatever the Boss phaser, like a Boss distortion, and a couple of others. I don't even remember what all he gave me, but I was like, well, I don't, because I at that time I had moved out of my father's house and moved in with my mom, and I was like, well, I don't even have a guitar. I can't do anything with guitar. I don't have a guitar. I don't have an amp. So I took him to Guitar and Banjo, and I was like, well, I have a bunch of pedals, but I don't have a guitar. I need a guitar. Can I trade these? They're like, they looked at everything. We'll give you 145 bucks. That Ibanez right there,
Yeah.
it's like a lawsuit era Les Paul, like a cream colored Les Paul custom copy.
Oh yeah.
It's marked at 150 bucks. So if I give you these pedals, that means I only have to pay $5 and I can have that guitar. Yeah, it was like $5.41 after tax.
Yeah.
And so that was the first guitar I ever bought. And man, I abused the crap out of that thing as teenagers will do. But like you, I really wish I still had that guitar, even though like it wasn't a great guitar. I think it had a bolt-on neck. You know, it was not. It was like the Ibanez lawsuit era copy, but it was like the cheap copy. Um,
Sure.
but you know, it's like we all have that soft spot in our heart for like that very first guitar, you know. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's that's the guitar that I really like. By that point, I was learning Master of Puppets, and I was learning One and all these Metallica songs. So, um, I mean and that's the guitar that I had. That was the only guitar I had until when I graduated high school. My family, all my extended family, all came into town for graduation, and they gave me like a big stack of money. They're like, now you can go to college. Slow down. Brian Jones has a 1979 Les Paul Standard for sale for 700 bucks.
Right.
I'll be right back. So I went, all the money, literally every penny of the money my extended family gave me to go to college. I went and I bought my 79 Les Paul Standard, and I have never regretted it for a single day.
Yeah. And why wouldn't you?
Yeah. I bought my
I'd buy
dream
that
guitar.
guitar 10 times.
Yeah. I bought my dream guitar. It's still my favorite one. It's sitting right there, that one.
There it is.
So, yep.
Yeah, that's my birth year.
Yeah.
I love a 79. I
Yeah.
always wind up with 78s for some reason, but I'm a 79.
So that one that you gave Bill, wasn't that one a 79?
That was in fact a 79.
Yeah. There you
Yeah.
go.
I've had three 78s and one 79. And I finally got my hands on a birth year and I went and gave it to my buddy. What are you gonna do?
Well, it happens. I think
Sometimes,
at this point we've pretty much
they're
all given each other guitars.
yeah, yeah, and I love that. We should do a fun episode on that one day or something. I can't stop. I was telling Ethan, earlier whenever I'm shopping, half the time I'm shopping, thinking about what would he like, what
Yeah.
but that's
Yeah, it's
one of our favorite things is the search.
yeah, I've got this short list, like Shelby's short list. Like there's a few guitars I know if I ever see, and they're not like super, not like his like, the ultimate list. Like we're talking big
Right.
high dollar things. This is
Yeah.
like Shelby's little $1,000 ish short list, and I'm always looking like, oh, oh, Shelby would love that.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's
yeah,
why
it's
I was gonna say that's why the other day when I saw that double cut Les Paul special in the pawn shop,
Oh yeah.
so I immediately took a picture of it. I sent a picture to Ethan. I sent a picture to Shelby. I was like, "Hey guys, like I know you guys are both fans of the double cuts with P90s. So like I do the same thing, man. When I see stuff that I know you guys will like, I and it's a little harder to you know share this kind of stuff since I live 4.5 hours away from you guys. But yeah, like I said, I do the same thing. I'm always going to pawn shops all the time and
oh yeah.
see cool stuff. I snap pictures.
Oh yeah, well we get the messages, and then just like that, sometimes it works out, just like that Jerry Cantrell
Yeah,
signature that
Mm.
that popped up in that pawn shop, and Mike was like, "I'll go get it right now." I'm like, "Well, why don't you do
yeah,
that?" So
and I did.
and
Guitars
yeah,
too.
and it was good. It was good. It worked out. So yeah, always looking.
Yeah. So well, all right. I think this is a good stopping point for our first episode here. I really appreciate you guys joining in, and I hope we can do it again soon.
Excellent. Enjoyed it.
Loved it.
Thanks, guys.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Ooh, the wife is gonna kill me, but it's gonna be worth it.